for Peace seeks to recapture, redevelop the historic anti-war, anti-imperialist, and pro-peace positions of the radical black movement. We work to oppose domestic state repression, oppose policies of destabilization, oppose subversion, and oppose the permanent war agenda of the U.S. state globally. Woo! Those of us in the Black Alliance for Peace understand that unity in Africa, unity in Korea, and unity in our Americas is and always has been a threat to the imperialist schemes of the US, EU, NATO axis of domination. Because it is a threat, the US Department of the Defense sat down with a map of the world and carved the planet up into 6 combatant commands. The US Indo-Pacific Command, the oldest and largest of the combatant commands, was established in 1947, just before the Korean War. The US claims that the goal of this command is to enhance stability in the Asia-Pacific region. But one of the Pacific Command's first tasks was combat or operations in Korea, operations which resulted in the slaughter of millions of Korean people and the fracturing of a nation. In 1963, the US established the Southern Command, or SOUTHCOM. As with the Indo-Pacific Command, the US claims that the purpose of SOUTHCOM is to enhance stability in the Western Hemisphere. In reality, SOUTHCOM has facilitated capitalist extraction of resources like lithium from South America, subverted and destabilized socialist governments and anti-imperialist forces in places like Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua, and undermined self-determination in places like Haiti. And if that weren't enough, the U.S. used the same playbook in Africa by establishing its Africa Command, or AFRICOM, in 2007. The U.S. claims that AFRICOM was established, once again, to provide security and prevent the spread of terrorism in the region. However, since AFRICOM has come into the picture, deaths in the Sahel have risen 2,000%. In recent days, here in the U.S., we've seen the National Guard, in coordination with the U.S. Northern Command, or NORTHCOM, deployed in LA and DC to repress dissent. Here in New York, we see the IOF-trained NYPD, which has more resources than many countries' armies, terrorizing our communities on a daily basis. This is not new. It extends the decades-long trend of militarization within the U.S. Across 3 decades and 5 U.S. presidents, programs like the 1033 program have empowered the Department of Defense to transfer $6 billion worth of military equipment to domestic U.S. law enforcement agencies while communities are suffering from austerity cuts. We must be clear. Through its combatant command structure and deepening dependence on domestic militarization, the U.S. will continue to terrorize and extract, terrorize and extract, terrorize and extract. But we in the Black Alliance for Peace will not be intimidated, and we will not just sit back and watch this unfold. We are calling for the end of SOUTHCOM and imperialist meddling in Haitian affairs. We are calling on the masses to reject U.S. imperialism and make our Americas a zone of peace. We are calling for the end of AFRICOM and the complete withdrawal of all U.S. forces from Africa. We are calling for the end of the 1033 program, the end of ICE, the end of cop cities, the end of economic warfare, and increased militarization in black communities here in the U.S. As bearers of the black radical peace tradition, as anti-imperialists, and as supporters of people's struggles for self-determination, we denounce the Indo-Pacific Command, the war games in Korea, and the terror threats from the U.S. We demand that the U.S. removes its military bases from Korea, Africa, the Americas, and everywhere in the world. U.S. out of Korea, U.S. out of our Americas, U.S. out of Africa, U.S. out of everywhere. Woo!